5:15. Call the scheduled board meeting of the Board of Works and Safety together. So I guess we'll face sort of the courthouse and the flag there on the courthouse square. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Catherine Yates, and Andy Goodwin.
So the minutes of the March 21st meeting are presented in your packet for approval. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
I have none and move to accept the meetings as presented.
Without objection, the minutes are approved as read. Next order of business are the regular claims for April 4th, totaling $423,362.90. Is there a motion to approve the claims?
I'll second with the two questions.
With your questions, Cameron?
Let's see here. So the review of the pump levy station for future development, 1860, I believe, was that for Family Dollar, yes? Is this a second payment? Did we already approve a engineering study for that? 4 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago?
We approved doing it. We didn't approve paying for it yet. This was I think we had two agreements from the Fairman and Seifert, but we did not receive billing from them.
Okay, is it completed, do you know?
So the Family Dollar is completed, correct, Aaron?
Yes, I believe so.
And I'm not sure that the pump station is. They're still working on that to determine whether we need additional pump at that station. So this would be the first pass at that.
Okay, I think the second question kind of rolls out of the same ballpark there. As far as the sidewalk phaser, is that continued from what we started in 2021? The ADA accessible or compliant?
Yes, it would be. So, we're required to update the phaser every year.
Okay.
And then this is really related more to the ADA compliance with ramps and so forth.
Okay. The other one was inventory, correct?
Yeah.
Where we're at with
The one last year was
okay.
inventory.
Okay. That's all I have, thank you.
Spencer? All in favor of approving the claims for $423,362.09, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I am aye, motion carries. So, on unfinished business, JT, do you want to update us on where we are on various properties? And I do have your.
Save that for last. Mayor?
Save that for last. Go ahead.
Update on the Franklin Street property. You recall we completed an abatement process in December. I did follow up with their attorney. There's still some outstanding items on the property. There's some items still left on the porch, some items around near the house. There's still that small door on the outbuilding that's not been covered. And so the debris that was in there, the concern again is that a rodent or an animal will pull that out, and then we're going to have trash, loose trash dispersed. So provided photos and those details for that to be accomplished. The attorney did respond that he provided that to his client. And I'm also very excited to share that we had a very happy clerk treasurer on Friday, because the attorney for the mortgage did send payment for the abatement cost that we had accrued, which was $788 and some change. And so certainly excited to see that come back to reimburse us for that abatement process on that property. So that's where 411 Franklin stands. On 402 South Washington, as we all, no activity, whatsoever, despite, you know, some attempts of recent that, hey, we'll be here this week, we'll be here this week. So at this juncture, my recommendation is that we, proceed forward with developing an action item plan for that property. I had a contractor, here in the city this afternoon that walked the property, put together a cost estimate for what it would take to do the work, the abatement work. So getting the roof out, the debris, then we'll have, Mr. Huff come in, assess those walls to see if the back part of the building is still salvageable. They'll also clean up all that loose debris, that's up near the building. And so as soon as they get me that cost, I'll share that with the mayor, and then certainly we'll look to get another quote on it too, just to compare and contrast. But my recommendation is that we prepare a very straightforward, brief notice. I don't know that we need to go into any lengthy detail. Mr. Eccles was well aware of the expectations. He was here at the January 18th meeting. The Board of Works set aside the demolition order, put a continuous enforcement action order in place. There's been no action despite multiple attempts. So my recommendation would be that we prepare a very brief notice that just indicates to him we're going to proceed forward with the action, and the cost will be borne to you, the owner, and see perhaps if that would spark some substantial work to be done on the property. So that's where we stand on Washington Street.
We had the first analysis done, 2 months ago, like
Yes, the first, so prior to your January 18th Board of Works meeting, we met with Mr. Eccles at the property. Engineer Huff was there. Yes, thank you. Was there at the property also, and then we also had a meeting to share the findings, the initial findings with the mayor also. But since then, there's been, no activity.
I agree. I think we've been very patient, very lenient, and at the end of the day, we all want the same thing to get it compliant and cleaned up. But I drive by there each morning just to see if there's maybe a code out there, something to show any effort. And I haven't yet to see anything, so I don't know if anybody sees something I'm missing. But
There's been a lot of traffic down on that street, heading to Cook Street, so if he had been.
we would have been visible.
around,
So I agree with JT. I didn't want to go down this road, but that's kind of unfortunate. I think we're going to have to do it.
But we don't want to risk, as of right now, at least an initial assessment, is that at least the front building still has potential. And so we don't want to take a risk the longer it goes.
On the north side, on the back part of the building, it's open, you go in, kids can get into it, the doorway's open, the windows are open, everything's cracked, looking out of it. So, something needs to be done, at least,
It has to get boarded up and down.
And that was another discussion with the contractor today. That's something that they would be willing to do also. So in their cost estimate, they're going to include that. So they would go ahead and they've got equipment that they could get that done also.
You need a motion for
Not yet. We'll have to wait and see what the estimates are, and whether we need multiple quotes on that. Certainly, we'll give notice to him, and for our next meeting, we'll be prepared to meet. Okay, you ready for the next?
I think so.
All right.
So very excitedly for so many in the community, we've got a Cook Street, and we've got a slideshow put together to show that Cook Street was completed. We'll go through the slideshow, and then while it's loading, I do want to thank all involved. It was an all hands on deck. Street department, water department came down. There's what the property, there's an image of what the property looked like. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. Of course, it's set that way for quite some time. Again, and that's taken from our trail. So imagine those walking on our trail, that's what you're seeing. That, of course, would be from the road. Another shot from the road. Another shot from our trail. That's the large part of the crew, water department and street department that were hands-on there. That's when the crew pulled in that morning. That was when it started, after the vehicles had been removed. We had the vehicles removed on the 28th. There you have APC Yates and Code Enforcement Lou Hayden and Community Development Doan. That's one of the dumpsters. There was actually two dumpsters, two 30-yard dumpsters that came out of the property. These are some aftershocks. We have that camper, aka dwelling, removed, another aftershock. Another aftershock on that side. That was probably the best side of the property. There's a garage and a driveway. And that's a shot after the final step was taken, which the camper, the owner of that camper, aka dwelling, was removed last night.
Good work, guys.
Yay,
Yeah, good work.
very good work.
It was all hands on deck, street department, Aaron, water department, Cameron Yates, Lou Hayden. It was all hands on deck. All those that we worked with, Complete Auto. We got the vehicles removed on the 28th. And then on the 29th, then the dumpster was already there, and Aaron, street department, water department, we were all hands on. I even brought some bib overalls that I slipped on over the attire to grab some. But again, that property is completed, so our next step on that will be, once we get the invoice for the dumpsters, we have the invoice for the tires that were taken, because those have to go to a different location. We've got the invoice from the street department prepared for their work. Once we get the invoice for the dumpsters, then we'll prepare a letter for mayor and get that mailed out to the owner, because the owner, as indicated in the notices, does, that cost is borne to them. So that's where Cook Street stands. One other item, obviously with community cleanup coming up on May the 7th, Code Enforcer Hayden and I are going to get some notices out close to that, just to remind people that some of these other items that are out there, they're on the porch, they're around a garage, they're around a shed. Hey, by the way, community cleanup's on the 7th, and so set that out on the 7th, and we'll include some language in there as to what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, to make it easier on our team. So any other questions on those specific properties?
The structure across from here, what we talked.
Yes, we had a phone conversation with him last week, Mr. Jenkins. He indicated to us in a very stern fashion that he is going to get started on that, weather breaks, and so Code Enforcer Hayden and I were also very sternly, and that we got to get going on this, because we had discussions back towards first of the year. Obviously, you know, there's weather is a component, but I mean, we want to get that. I mean, that obviously just safety and aesthetics and all of the above. So the plan there is they're going to do something on the front of the building where the tarp is, reinforce that in some way, put some lock up. They got some different plans there, and then they also plan to put some siding on their home. And so obviously closely monitoring that, and the discussion was within the next 2 weeks, and the discussion we had last week with him, so closely monitoring that. If not, then we'll proceed for other steps that we need to see if that can get accomplished.
You want to update us on I think there are two events coming up. One is the downtown cleanup. And then Aaron might speak to the cemetery cleanup.
Yeah, so on the downtown cleanup on this Saturday morning, we're going to meet at 8:30 at the city building. We'll have bags, trash bags in hand, bring gloves, but certainly Delphi Main Street. We're going to walk that Main Street layout, alleys, streets, any loose trash that's out there, which there is. We're going to just pick up and put in bags, and so that'll be from 8:30 to noon on this Saturday. We'll meet at the city building. Thank you.
Just cemetery cleanup. Week of the 11th, we're going to try to get cleaned up before Easter Sunday. I'm a little behind in getting the ad paper, but they'll have it in the paper this Wednesday.
Which cemetery?
Oh, yeah, yes.
Both
I was on
cemeteries,
spring
Palm
cleanup.
Cemetery and one out on Free Heights.
Okay.
So Warren Heights,
Morning Heights and Palm
other
Cemetery.
two city.
We asked that folks get in there
order of business is the awarding of the contract for phase 3 of the Lone High Ridge Trail project, which includes the actual trailhead park at the Miller property. Yardberry Landscaping presented the lowest base bid. That was what, $229,467,
Yes.
and $61,000 for the alternate. Number 1, which was to pave the entranceway and the parking lot at Miller Park. And that was $61,000 total. Cost was $290,567. So John, I think they've met all of the.
So far, there is a few bonds that are required that they submit to us, but not until we execute the notice of award. So as soon as we officially execute that and get that to them, they have 15 days to get us the remaining bonds, and then we can execute the contract.
Very good. So how will we pay for this? I'm sure someone will ask that question. We have $25,000 remaining from the DNR grant, for the entire project. They held back $25,000 for phase 3. We also have roughly about $20,000, to come from Heartland Heritage Inc., for the, in conjunction with property that they donated to the city. Then, so that will take the total down to about $245,600. I'm sorry, that takes it down, that's $45,000 off the total, and so the remaining $245,567 would come from rainy day. We do also have the Wabash Valley Power Association funds, which are earmarked for the Lone High Ridge Trails maintenance. If we need to eat into that fund, we can, but we know that future maintenance is gonna, we already have some maintenance on the bridge and some other areas that were not a part of this, in High Bridge, I mean, Blue Bridge, not the High Bridge itself. So, in any case, that's the plan for how this will be paid for. Is there a motion to award the contract to Yardberry Landscaping?
So,
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
where are they located? This is the first time.
They're in Anderson, Indiana, I believe. I think they have done some work here in Delphi in the past for the wastewater.
First.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Also in your packet is the notice to proceed for the Lone High Ridge Trail project. Is there a motion to award the contract, or to, proceed with the notice to proceed?
So, second.
Any discussion?
I have none. I do have a question after the.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. And motion carries. Yes, Dan, I have a motion.
So the completion of once we get past this page, the actual bridge part for Mona, what is the work, where are we at with that in completion?
That is, being done by Indiana Landmarks, which owns the High Bridge at this point. And the last word we had from them was that they expect to get started on that in June. Materials have been ordered, and, once those are available and the contractor is available, then the work will get started. So, and we're also gonna be coordinating perhaps with the Wabash Valley Power, as they, that you would like to add?
No, nothing else.
Are there any board comments or questions?
I have none.
Clerk Treasurer Aldrich? Any public comments?
Please, I'm wondering about 302 Cook Street. What legal means were used for the city to go in and do that?
The demolition order that was placed in our ordinance.
Okay,
Justin, if you'd like to weigh in on that, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, so just the standard notice, notice and order required for abandoned properties.
mm-hmm,
So it tracks virtually identically to the rest.
mm-hmm. And, were the property owners or the owners in there, living there when the city was doing all this work?
Correct.
And the dogs?
They did put the dogs inside.
Okay. They took care of the dogs, okay, yeah.
We did establish contact prior
Yeah.
to all this.
Sure.
To make sure that we weren't just coming in and.
Sure,
So that was
sure,
done
yeah.
couple
Yeah,
times.
I kind of forgot about the demolition order, and I was approached by someone who said, why is the city doing this? It's a good thing, but why is the city doing this? I said I would check, you know? So, and the,
Well, and those notices have been going out from both area plan and for years, because of the floodplain.
yeah, yeah.
And, issues with, them being in the floodplain and hazardous stuff.
And then is there a plan with the property owners to not let it get to that point? I mean, are there checks, or do we just wait and see what happens, or?
Unfortunately, it's a wait and see
Yeah.
game, of course, so we'll hope that they, maintain the property, but if not, we have the same procedures that we'll follow, over time if we need to.
Yeah. Well, you know,
Casey?
Just to clarify, so on the Cook Street property, it was a notice of violation. One, they've been issued from APC in the past for quite some time, but we issued a notice of violation back in December the 14th. And then we followed up with a notice to abate specifically on the items outside in January. And then we also did a final notice on the vehicles in February. And at that point, we were able to actually meet with the owner, and she indicated she had received those by mail, and we also personally provided her with copies as to what the process would be following. And then on the 28th, again, we made contact with the owner. We were there to get the vehicles, and then the owner was also there on the 29th also.
We didn't go in just by surprise. We made sure that we made them well aware of what was gonna happen, and of course it's gonna be overwhelming, so we wanna make sure that.
yeah. And I didn't think that you went in. Yeah,
I don't wanna use the word smoothly, because this wasn't an ideal situation, but I think she understood everything, and we did a good job the city did a good job of communicating what the next step was each day, so.
mm-hmm, yeah.
Good to have it completed.
Anything else?
I have nothing.
Benny?
Aaron,
Benny, I'm sorry, could you state your name and address, please?
Denny Myers, 949 north or west Washington, whatever it's called.
Thank you, go ahead.
I'd like to ask Aaron, I spoke to you quite a while back about the ponding water on Packet Avenue. Have you got a plan for that yet?
So we had a contractor that was come look at, that contractor that fell through the hoops, if you will. They had a change of command. It won't be easy. That lot was filled in by the prior owner, which created that pond in that area. So at this point,
No, I think that's what caused it, in the street actually.
okay, I'm not gonna argue, I was there when Mr. Underhill filled it in, so. That's what caused it, so from that point forward, it won't be an easy fix. So we just gotta find a way to somewhat to try to.
Water doesn't even get there. The water is on the next.
We'll take a look at it.
Yeah, like, water comes down Union Street and makes a curve. It comes toward. But surface water is not supposed to run across that property anyway. You should drain it.
is on that curve, and it does turn into the shoulder, because we've got right away in there. So, we'll take a look at it and see if we get rid of it, and see if we can do it.
And we're trying to draw attention to the canal property and so on and so forth, just aesthetically it's back. So we walk to the boathouse, we can't walk there because there's water in the street. It goes clear to the parking lot of the parking lot. It's not a little problem,
Okay, any other comments? There's just one last motion to be made. Without objection, the Board of Public Works and Safety meeting is adjourned at 5:41 PM. Council meeting will start at 6 o'clock. Thank you all.
Recording stopped.